Or was it?
I pledged allegiance to the flag God stood beside me. I swore an oath to my countrymen and kin. Side by side we sang our anthem oh so proudly. And this is where a soldier's tale begins. We left for foreign shores in the name of freedom, comrades in arms for the liberty of man, shoulder to shoulder.
Hello and welcome to the Late Night Veteran Show. This is episode 72, and tonight we have a new co-host. He's going to Adam Scarborough is joining us. He's joined the team as a new co-host, and special guest Piers Corbin. He's just trying to get on at the minute, but he's having some technical difficulties. Adam, if you'd like to introduce yourself to the show, introduce yourself and tell them.
Thank you for having me. It's my second time being. I was on here about a year ago, and it's an honour to be back again. And a lot's happened in the last year. My name's Adam Scarborough, and I served in the REME from 1981 to 1984. Inclusive, and during the Falklands War, I played a small part in that. And I'm a civil liberties campaigner all my life, and I've been involved with my friend Piers Corbin for the last 6 years to try and work out what's been going on in this crazy world, which we'll get into, I'm sure, as the conversation goes on. Piers has become a close friend over the last 6 years, and I've met a lot of other people in the freedom movement, including military, I might add. Darren is here as well, and other guys. Some of the guys formed what was called the Global Veterans Association, which proved that the idea it was to prove that the army was with the people. And we gave a salute at Piccadilly Circus a couple of times, and which was a great morale booster for the people that were on the demos, because there was a substantial amount of police violence on those demos. So having us there was good moral support for them. I'm sure Piers will tell you more about that as we move on to this tonight. And it's really unreal what's happened the last 5 years. But I think you say tonight, this just because it's a government doesn't mean that there's no corruption. In the 1640s, for 5 years, we were a military dictatorship under Cromwell for 5 years. It didn't last, and I don't think most dystopias. It must have been a very, very dark time. So just because they're politicians doesn't mean they're gods or demigods. They can be corruption. And if you look at, I've worked in jails over the years and hospitals, and we do a thing called psychological profiling, which the law enforcement agencies do this, as do recruitment agencies. And if you look at psychological profiling, the people behind this, and we're looking at Johnson, Cameron, people like that, they all went to Eton, which is an establishment, a public school, where they are told from a very small age that they are something special and to treat everyone with contempt. And I can give a couple of examples of that. Boris Johnson has been, once he went to a ticket hall for London Transport, TfL, and he said, oh, anyone can do this job. So it's his way of putting people down. And when you look at psychopathy, when you look at this man, Boris Johnson, who not only locked us in during lockdown while he had Partygate and the armed division of the Metropolitan Police allowed them in, he then flew off to the Ukraine to prolong war. And I don't think it gets more evil than that when you're looking at 1 million plus dead out there now. And I've seen some of the horrors of war at Southampton Dock in June 1982. War is no fairy tale, but this man, he can sleep well at night, knowing that he went to he extended war in Ukraine when there could have been a peace deal involving Vladimir Putin. And as for psychopathy, if you're looking at criminal psychopathy, I don't think I've interviewed a number of people in jail over the years as a mental health officer, sex offenders, police officers, a number of different people. It really is an eye-opener. But when it comes to psychopathy, I don't think there's a number of psychological theories on what makes a psychopath who he is. We're looking at all sorts of psychopaths that get off on hurting people. There's different types of psychopath. There's inadequate psychopath. There's personality disorders. But as I say, I don't think we'll ever understand it because we all have empathy, and an empathy is something that psychopaths don't have. So I think that's one reason. It's very, very easy, and I'm not trying to be egotistical when I say this. It's very, very easy to put ourselves on the same intellectual level with people who aren't on the same intellectual level as us. People, you know, in psychology, there's type A and type B personalities. There's someone who will lead and someone who will follow. And I think over the last 5 years, since the onset of the scamdemic, as we call it, or the pandemic, there's been the subservient mind. The subservient mind meaning anyone that's gone along with any of this BS, despite the amount of contradictions, or which we'll get onto as the show goes on. And then there's the questioning mind. Now, me, Darren, people on this show, and probably 90% of people watching this show tonight, we are of a more inquiring mind, and I think that's what makes us special. And when it comes to soldiering, when it comes to a big part of soldiering is situational awareness. And awareness, I think, is a soldier's best friend, particularly if you're doing night operations where everything takes on a concealed edge. Your awareness will get you through. Your awareness will keep you alive. And this is no conspiracy. I mean, if you look at the amount of people that are applying for the vaccine damage now, it's going through the roof, I think, to a point where West Streeting MP is having to open up another department to cope with the people that are claiming so-called vaccine damage, which isn't a vaccine. I think, as was proved in the Australian Federal Court, it's a bioweapon. And the logic behind calling it a vaccine was basically a form of, how can I say, it was a way of making it. If people had called it what it is, no one would have taken it. So they had to call it a vaccine to make people take it. You know, we look at vaccines. A traditional model for a vaccine is a toxin and an and a virus and an anti. It's known as an antigen. What this thing does, this Pfizer, the amount of contradictions were just incredible. I mean, looking at something which, if you look at the label on Pfizer, it's got an acceptable death rate. Now, personally, I wouldn't want anything in my body, or wouldn't give it to anyone that's got an acceptable death rate. Yes, there are side effects to all medications, and we give drugs to counter those side effects, but I think it's a bit rich when you're taking something that's got an acceptable death rate. And there's so many contradictions, as Dr. Mike Yeadon said. They all came up. Every pharmaceutical company, Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, AstraZeneca, which was eventually banned in the UK, they all came up with an antidote, with the vaccine, at exactly the same time, over 6 months, when when it usually takes about 12 years. I mean, that's not possible. And the amount of people I know now that are getting ill, dying, it is really, really pitiful. But when we're looking at trauma, when we're looking at coping with trauma, whether you're a soldier, denial is a big part of coping with trauma. So I can understand that people are under incredible pressure during the pandemic, and I can understand why people want to move on with their life. But unfortunately, life isn't a bed of roses. We have to sometimes, there are evil people in this world. And as we'll get onto tonight, the amount of fifth columns now that are within the British government, I'm looking at the World Economic Forum, 77th Brigade, the Trilateral Commission. All these organisations have been brought in without our consent, the taxpayers' consent. And the government will get away with it. When I've spoken to MPs, like my MP, a guy called Alex Burghardt, who every time he wrote to me, he quoted parts of the Great Reset. One of them is Build Back Better. Do you remember that? Build Back Better. And they don't mean better for us, they mean better for the oligarchs. But when they all say it's more than a conspiracy. And so I say they will call these organisations that are within the British government GMOs, NGOs, non-governmental organisation. Now that is basically being euphemistic about what they really are, which is fifth columns that have no right within society or our government. Nobody voted for the World Economic Forum. Many public figures are in it. I'm in regular contact with Ofcom. You probably know Ofcom, which is the king of censorship in the UK. It was started by Tony Blair, and it's now they've got the so-called oxymoronic Online Safety Act, and the CEO of Ofcom, a lady called Dame Melanie Dawes. Every time I've asked her, I put in a Freedom of Information request saying, do you agree, Miss Dawes, with Klaus Schwab? Some of you will be familiar with Klaus Schwab. He was the head of the World Economic Forum. His words, the dismantleization, and this is no conspiracy, he actually said this, it's in the Great Reset, the dismantleization of society will take a little bit longer. Now, when I put that in writing to Miss Dawes, whose face is on the World Economic Forum website, she will not answer. She will not answer. And this can be basically explained by criminal psychology. If she answers in the same way as Sir Mark Rowley, the head of the police, will not answer Mark Sexton or Andrew Bridgen's accusations about the vaccine damage, because if he answers one way or the other, he links himself to the crime. And that's why they will not answer. They use their right to silence. I've said quite a bit there. I can carry on if you like, or you can, any comments, questions or criticisms on that? Damage off the air. So
sorry, carry on, Adam. 1 second.
Yeah. So and when did I awake? I mean, I think I became quite aware from the very, very beginning. I used to listen a lot to a doctor called Dr. John Lee, who I really liked. Some of you may remember a program called Body Worlds, which was with a German doctor, Gunther von Hergens, and you probably were Body Worlds you could visit. He basically plasticized human bodies so you could see what was going on in the body. But Dr. John Lee was on that show called Autopsy, where they cut the body up, and it was really, really educational. You could see the cancer cells, you could see the way nicotine blocked the heart, etc., blocked the lungs. It was really, really. But Dr. John Lee, I used to listen to. He's been a bit quiet lately, but I used to listen to him a hell of a lot. And he once said in one of his speeches, "We're looking at psyops." And when I heard the word psyops, I realised we're up against the state. And I knew then this was going to get quite rather nasty, and I didn't know what to expect. And the trouble with any sort of trauma when you're locked down, as we say, my grandfather was a POW in Poland and Germany for 6 years, British POW, and he told me one of the most frightening things about that was not just the freezing cold winters out there where some Tommies got frostbite, but you didn't know how long the war was going to go on for. But our situation, I think, is entirely unique. Despite being a military dictatorship in the 1640s, I don't think there's been any crime quite like this, because and I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say it's been a global coup d'etat, where a few elites, you could probably get them in Westminster Abbey, have taken over for their own benefit. And they seem to think that they could get away with it on everything. With these people works with misplaced trust. They want you to touch on. And there's a number of quotes that wonderful Englishman, George Orwell, wrote, which really highlights what is going on today. George Orwell in 1984 spoke about the eternal war. He said that everything that the government told you was the opposite. The Ministry of Truth was entirely the opposite. It was the Ministry of Lies. When Ofcom tell you Online Safety Act, they really mean the opposite. And I've been in touch with Ofcom. I've said to them, look, you use the term harm and safety very, very loosely. What exactly are you trying to protect me, a former soldier? What exactly are you trying to protect me from? They cannot give an answer, and they won't give an answer. And when it comes to children, I think, whether we like it or not, we do live in a world where sexuality exists. I think there's a thing called parental control, where parents should have control over what they're. I mean, don't get me wrong, the internet can be addictive. Some psychiatrists are recognizing now technology addiction disorder. Some women, when they're in maternity, they've had the child, the first thing they do is put the mobile phone to their chest. So in many ways, the internet is a wonderful tool, but it's also, shall we say, a little bit isolationist if taken to extremes. So I think with children are very, very curious animals. I had sex education when I was 11 years of age. You learn about the birds and bees, flowers and trees. And I don't think you can, but this idea, this is digital ID. There's been a lot of uproar about digital. This is digital ID through the back door. They couldn't get it through the front door. So now they have to say age verification for everyone, just to prove that you are over 16 or 18 years of age, or whatever it might be. But human beings are curious animals. You cannot stop people asking questions, and you shouldn't do. There should always be freedom to ask questions and give answers. Millions of British soldiers have died in combat over the years for that principle. 250 years ago, this year, we lost British America. I mean, that was, from what I know, our Vietnam. We lost thousands of men in that war, and it went on for 9 years nearly. And redcoats, some of them froze to death in Virginia. But the interesting thing about the American Revolutionary War, the Washington fought on the principle of free speech and all the amendments, as you know, the First Amendment, the Second Amendment. One that may become a bit evident in the not so near future is the 25th Amendment, with what's going on in the Middle East at the moment. Some politicians in America now are talking about impeaching Donald Trump under the 25th Amendment, which is basically the amendment that shows that I don't think any president has had this before, that the president isn't fit to operate. That's what they're saying. That's the way this may end for Donald Trump. And he will be also, if it happens and convicted, he will be the first American president to be convicted and indicted successfully. So I think we all have to be aware, and this is where lots of my friends are still watching the BBC, and I saw it the other night, and there was an article on there about trees. I mean, of all things, trees, with what's been going on the last 5 years, they're talking about damn trees. And I can understand if that glass god in the corner of the living room, the BBC, if that's all people see, it's no wonder they're doing what they do. If you're looking at the amount of psyops that the government have used over the last 3 years, it started off with a nudge unit, a mind space, and then David Cameron started what was known as the Behavioural Insights team. Now, the Behavioural Insights team was basically to use applied behavioural, very, very powerful applied behavioural psychology negatively to get you to do things with your body that you would not normally do. And we're looking at fear, we're looking at propaganda, we're looking at basically frightening you into submission. I saw this coming, but what I also saw was the contradictions behind it, the psyops. I've seen quite a few people die over the years. I've done last offices. I've always treated the body with respect. I've made the relatives tea and coffee, and always come away feeling like I wanted to do more for the patient, But when I saw nurses dancing TikTok on the ward, I thought, is this some sort of sick joke? What's going on here? This is no way to react when you've got allegedly thousands of corpses coming and dying and you're dancing TikTok. So that was one contradiction that I saw. Then Partygate came along. It didn't see that Johnson was too worried about dying himself because he had Partygate. That was another. But I think, so there was informal psyops and there was formal psyops. But for me, I think the most perverse psyop I remember was one that they had for a brief period on the side of double-decker buses and billboards, which said, act ill as if you have the virus. I am not joking. That is what they put up, the most perverse one. And people believe it. Act ill, act as if you've got epilepsy. Act as if you've got epilepsy, man. Someone might believe. And people believe that. That was the level of people's gullibility. Just incredible. But that, I will never get that. And it's very, very... so having this war now is the perfect solution to divert people's mind away from what's happened over the last 5 years.
It's definitely a distraction,
yeah, total distraction. And so Orwell was a great guy, and he really went into it. He itemized the psyops that was involved. When you look at love Big Brother, these terms like Big Brother, which happens now, and I support Big Brother. I donate to Big Brother Watch, which is a very good organisation. I recommend you join it if you can, and also Open Rights, which fights for digital rights. But in a true democracy, we would not need Big Brother Watch. We would not need Open Rights, because we wouldn't be having this conversation in a true democracy, because we would have it. We would expect democracy. Every day, basically the government is trying to tax our ability to cope by bringing in law after law after law after law to a point where they hope they frustrate us and we can't go on anymore. I mean, every day there's one, and all of these laws aren't about giving you more freedom and more liberty. It's about restricting freedom and liberty.
Thanks, Adam. We're just having trouble with Piers at the minute coming on.
Yeah, sure.
So just bear with us. I've got a couple of questions I want to ask you, Adam. Thank you for
Sure.
that.
Sure.
Just bear with me a second.
Sure. No problem.
What inspired you to join the military?
What inspired you to join the military? My family, my father was in the Coldstream Guards. He was a trumpeter. He went on to do quite well in professional bands, Edmund Rogers Orchestra and also James Last Orchestra. So there was him, and there was also my grandfather, who we spent 6 years locked up in Germany and Poland. I was brought up by my grandparents, so a big part of my youth was the military and watching programs like, and also I think because I come from a bit of a, shall we say, not disturbed background, you know, but when my parents divorced, I think joining the army gave me a bit of a home. It was like some family, and I met some guys that come from terrible backgrounds. Some of them did. We had one guy that did time in the detention centre, but he said the army training was harder than the detention centre. I remember that guy, but so it gave me. It was also, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Like a lot of people, when I joined quite late at 19, I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I thought joining the army will give me space to decide what I wanted to do. And also I met good friends. I'm not really in touch with any of them now. I wish I was. And I think also, though, the negative side of it is when the Falklands War broke out, how can I say, when you're very, very young, have you ever seen young pigeons in the garden? They seem to be unaware of the dangers of what lie ahead, of predators, etc., of cats that may kill them. And I think there is that element, because in June 82, after the Falklands War at Southampton Dock, there were people coming back in with terrible injuries. And I'm talking about bullet wounds, shrapnel wounds. We're looking at amputations, PTSD, complex PTSDs. So it was kind of strange because everyone was there celebrating victory, including Prince Andrew, who did from what I know, a bit of land mining on the beach down there. But at the same time, there was a lot of death. There was a lot of corpses coming back in shrouds, and you see the reality of war. So it's my advice today is don't join the military. I mean, today people talk about national service, but fighting for what? I mean, the World Economic Forum, fighting and protecting what?
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because I've got Gareth here, my cousin. He did 22 years in the military. Would you
Wow, hi there.
So I've been watching the live actually downstairs. I've just come upstairs. Obviously, hi Adam, how are you?
Hi there.
Yeah, sorry to jump in. X-Force Signals, 22 year service, and yeah, just listen to some of the stuff you were saying about like the laws and legislation. Really like riles me up a little bit, because religion used to be the control of the population, right? People used to worship back in the day, but now it's more about legislation. Yeah, so I totally agree with you. It's about controlling the population. But some of the stuff you were saying, like, yeah, obviously there's a few conspiracies out there. What could be NGOs, that kind of stuff, all the stuff that's going on. And it's great that people are challenging that, because otherwise the government gets to do what they want. Yeah,
I was hoping we'd have this conversation with when Piers arrived, but how can I say Piers is he's a soldier in his own right, an incredible, brave man. But you got to question it, man. It's just not on. But the hubris, if again talking about psychological profiling, personality profiling, if you look at Starmer, he seems to be completely stoic. What's the word I'm looking for? Phlegmatic, where everything goes over his head. But I think deep down, intrinsically, internally, he's a very, very worried man, as he should be, because. And people talk about improving the economy. If you read The Great Reset by Klaus Schwab and you read his other book, The Fourth Industrial Revolution, very depressing reading. It's all about destruction to bring it down to net zero, so that we become totally, utterly subservient to the state, the WEF state. That is the long-term goal. But over the last 5 years, compared to, and I hope we'll discuss this more when Piers came on, I first met Piers Corbyn when I came back from the States, must have been in May in 2020, a beautiful summer's day in Hyde Park. And the police were there. The police, you could see, they loved every minute of it, knocking people to the floor. And I'd never met Piers before. I knew him. I knew he was an astrologist. I know he worked for NASA for a while. I think he's a brilliant astrologist and weatherman. But this guy came into the park, the brother of the leader of the opposition, Jeremy Corbyn, and I saw him knocked to the floor by these police. And I thought, what is happening here? And I thought, these guys, and I went to his aide and said, leave him alone, stand up. and a number of women were arrested by these police. And the police, I think it was a massive eye. I know some ex-military police, I think very, very few. They were acted appallingly. I think I saw them at their worst in around October 2021, when the TSG, or basically a bunch of thugs walking around. And let's get this right. They're not soldiers. They're not up against any formidable enemy with weapons. They're assaulting defenseless people. They're not exactly heroes. The cops I've admitted to jail. I can tell you, once the uniform comes off, they're people of straw in jail.
Yeah, so I've got friends that are currently serving in the police. Now, obviously, looking at it from the other angle slightly, like you did call them thugs, but like they're there to do a job. At the end of the day, like we were to do a job when we were abroad. So, like, not all of them are thugs.
No, I'm not saying that.
There are some people that take advantage of the situation that they're in, the position that they're in. Like you've dealt with a few dodgy coppers, people that go above and beyond, go ahead and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But what I will say
is there to protect the population of the UK, right?
But what I will say is, it's, you know, that one of those cops in the CSG might be a good boat off duty. He might have a good golf handicap off duty. But what I'm saying is, the police act as a group. When they're bashing people over the head with metal batons or hitting them, and potentially their personality is irrelevant. It's superfluous. It's what they do as a group that matters.
Yeah, true.
This is group dynamic.
It's a police force.
And in my liking, the guys I met in the military, the Global Veterans Association, anyone with a conscience. I mean, I saw the police. I mean, I'm not joking. I don't know if they knocked some women down to goad an aggressive response from men. So they can. I was even told that by a cop. They would do it, and then they would surround the victim, so to make it difficult for you to photograph what was going on. Believe me, always film the police. In the cases we've had over the last 5 years that have gone to court, that is criminal evidence. That is evidence that can be used in court.
And it can't be hidden then as well, can it?
It can't be hidden. But if the police will they will also try to seize your mobile phone as well, which means always take it from more than one direction as well. I shouldn't be saying this, but what I'm saying is, the police, I'm not saying I've got complete antipathy for them, but there are good people out there now who have criminal convictions that can no longer work as teachers, as nurses, because the beloved police gave them convictions over just asserting their rights. The police, one thing this last 5 years has proved to me is that the police seem to go along with the state, whatever the case. But let me say this: towards the end of the scamdemic, where there must have been 1 million of us, including soldiers. I think it was April the 24th, 2021 in Hyde Park. I don't know if either of you were there, but there must have been 1 million of us. It came from all directions. The police could do nothing. They may have knocked 100 of us down or 200, but we would have overcome them. And I listened to the chief of police addressing the TSG. I won't call them thugs this time. In the middle of Hyde Park.
I understand what you mean. It's fine.
And he said, well, when people have got convictions and they can't work, I'm not going to exactly go and shake their hands and say thank you very much, obviously. I'm not.
Thanks for your service.
I won't use the expletive, but there's another expletive. There was a movie made in 1972 called All Coppers Are. And I'll leave you to work out the last word on that. It was quite not a bad film, actually. But the chief of police addressed the TSD in the middle of Hyde Park, and he said, look, there's more of them than us. There's ex-soldiers here today. Even if, we had this ridiculous group of 6 thing, he said, even if they're not in groups of 6, don't assault them. But the TSG were ready to go. They were ready to smash heads.
If we strip it back, the TSG Tactical Support Group are trained to that level. They've had extra training like we would for pre-deployment, stuff like that. They are there to deal with violent situations. So they do come across quite aggressive. I mean, in a violent situation, obviously, like if, for example, going into a compound in Afghan, you don't go in like dizzy-dazzy, you go in hard and fast. So when they
they're not very good at it, because there's been a couple of cases when people are in court and they went completely OTT. I mean, they wanted to get this guy stitched up. He said, this is what we're taught to do in training, hit them there. Anyone who's got any knowledge of martial arts, I would have had him on his arse straight away, believe me. But he thought he was good at it, and they basically, I see the police as more of a cult. I think the difference between soldiers and police is we to quote Cromwell, maybe not the best example, he said a number of profundities. One of them was which the army is the heart and soul of the people. The army is the heart and soul of the people. If we don't protect our people, who will? Who will? And when you're looking at the last 5 years, it's been very, very pragmatic. The police have come out as anything but a friend of the people. I'm sorry I have to say that, but people like, I won't mention the name, she can no longer work as a teacher because she got convicted. There are hundreds of cases like that. These are the forgotten heroes who the police arrested. And believe me, they would do it this time, they would do it again, which is all the more reason always film the police. Because I can tell you from experience, nothing frightens a policeman more than prison.
So I would absolutely back you up on that, because if you do, they have to stick to their rules and regulations. They have to, they're there to protect and serve ultimately. And you should record them, because it makes their life more difficult if they do something out of step.
Yeah,
I mean, film from different angles, because at
absolutely.
the end of the day, if they do something wrong, they can be accountability can take place. But I mean, I do challenge you on this thing before. And I've got friends who've left, done 22 years in the military, left at W01. One of them serves not far from here. He knows who he is. But he's such a down-to-earth bloke. He will go and deal with all sorts of situations. There's some coppers that won't deal with certain people within society in this area, but he will go straight up to them and get things sorted. They are breaking the law. They're doing this. They're doing that.
Sure.
Saving characters. He goes in and does that. So we can't. I'm not saying that all police are bad. I'm not saying all police are good. I'm kind of down the middle.
Sure.
But they do have their own jurisdiction, and some of them, like the TSG, they're trained to a higher level because they're going into bad situations.
I think the likes of me and Adam, we've had bad experiences.
Yeah, of course,
because we're standing up for what we fight for.
I mean, if you look at that, and I'm going to call him a thug this time because what he did was Wayne PC quote unquote Wayne Couzens. It was walking around with a submachine gun, diplomatic protection squad. But what he did to that poor girl, appalling, and he arrested her under the Coronavirus Act. When he raped her, he cuffed her and he strangled her with the police belt. And so that poor girl, when she was being raped, she couldn't even fight back. Had there been no pandemic, that girl would have been alive today. And she was very, very compliant. But that was the beginning of the end. Once you see police assaulting women, brave women who come, then that was the beginning of the end. It was a Clapham Common that day. They were fighting back.
In that situation, I hear it's obviously horrific. Completely horrific.
Well,
why was the officer allowed the time and space? It's a buddy system in the army, right? You're buddy. If I'm doing something wrong, you can call me out on it, and vice versa. So where was the? You get what I mean?
He also got a conviction for flashing his Hampton in McDonald's later on, and I have to say he did it for his own sexual gratification. He was looking for a victim. I think he was married man with kids. From what
surely, like we all know, when we're in the military, you have vetting, right? So
well, this is it. You have vetting.
How did he get through vetting? How did he get through that?
I mean, when I worked in prison over the years, we have a thing called risk assessment. You know, one of the main aims of that is to prevent suicide. It doesn't mean that you're going to prevent the suicide, but it means that you're going to be more aware. But it's the same if you look at someone who wants to join the police. You know, if you look at psychology and have you ever heard of Johari's window? Johari's window. You've got the private self, you've got the public self, you've got the social self. There is a private self. And this Wayne Couzens, who now, by the way, has got to die in prison. He lost his appeal. He's got to die in jail. He was a bit of a dark horse, to say the least. But that poor girl, when he raped her in Maidstone, Kent, her last moments I just wish I was there to have helped her. I just wish.
Totally horrendous. But it's the system that's failed her. The system that you're talking about, the government.
Yeah, well, Mr. Couzens is also finding out that he's responsible for his own actions as well. I can tell you that. But the perverse thing is, had there been no pandemic or scam, whatever you want to call it, that girl would have been alive today. You know, this is the appalling thing. And I'm
just going to interrupt, mate. Sorry, we're 40 minutes into the show already. Piers is struggling to get on. We will get him back on. We'll do checks beforehand. I'm not ending the show here, but I just wanted to for everybody that's watching, if you can like, share, and subscribe. Adam is our new co-host, and he'll be coming on regularly now to support us, which is great. I just want to introduce, obviously, Gareth here, his first time on his show, served 22 years in the army. I just want to have 10-15 minutes with Gareth and then go back to us three talking. If you want to take it away, Gareth, share your story.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, no worries. Anything you want to ask me, just
Good. Just explain who you are and what you saved. And
Yeah, so Gareth Venables,
I got some
ex-war
questions
singles.
for you as well.
I joined the army at 16, from Pembrokeshire originally, back in Pembrokeshire. I actually got diagnosed with PTSD post-attempt suicide in 2022. And I'm grateful for the day that I decided to try to kill myself, because I'm able to get the support I needed out of the military, not in the military, because I asked for years and I just got brushed off. Only after, when I tried to attempt suicide, they finally actually believed that I was suffering. They set me on gardening leave, so I wasn't around my unit, so no one knew what was going on. And yeah, basically I got the help from there. So yeah, 2nd of June 2023 is a date that will always stay with me. But I truly believe that day had to happen in order for me to stand up, realize who I am, get on top of my condition, and then kind of open up to the world a bit more. And since June 2023, I've kind of built myself back up. I'm self-employed now, doing my own sort of thing down in Pembrokeshire. I won't give too much details up, just a sort of personal protection. But again, looking at Darren, he's my cousin, been through some stuff himself in the past, got involved with the wrong people, got in the wrong stuff. We're trying to get him clean, trying to get him back on his feet. Finally got him his passport. It arrived yesterday. I opened it, figured it was mine, thinking, yeah, look, it's mine, great. And it turns out it's his. But yeah, mine just ran out. There was nothing wrong with it. But yeah, it's just getting away from the military, being in I mean, I'm not going to slag the military off. I'm grateful for the opportunities. I'm grateful for the training. I'm grateful for the experience. And the
Would you join again?
Chance to travel. Would I join again, knowing what I know now?
I certainly wouldn't.
Probably not. At 16 years old, it was a great opportunity. And obviously, I'm grateful for my pension as well. I'm obviously med discharge as well, so I've got the med top up. But looking back, you think, I am grateful for the experience, because I've learned a lot. I am the man who I am today because of my experiences, because of my scars. We all are, right? And it's whether or not you look at it in a good light or a bad light, in my opinion. So would I join again today at the age of 40? Absolutely not. But if I was 16 years old again, with the knowledge that I had at 16, yes, I would. So you kind of get the answer. It's like, would I do it all again? Yeah, because I wouldn't know any different.
So I just wanted to bring up the new girl group you're doing. It certainly helped me with my mental health. So you're the CEO of Pembrokeshire Veterans. I just want to give you a shout out. I just want you to explain what Pembrokeshire Veterans are, and then the new girl group you've set up.
Yeah, so Pembrokeshire Veterans was already established when I moved back to Pembrokeshire, but it was the older generation that was kind of running it. They just needed a bit of fresh meat, if you like. Someone that's a bit keen to help out, get veterans together. So I host like a veterans breakfast once a month in Pembrokeshire. Pembrokeshire is very sparse, so everyone's scattered rurally, which is quite isolating. And as you know, if you isolate yourself, then your mental health does dip, and it can dip quite severely. So I just host like events on Pembrokeshire Veterans for people to come out and have a breakfast once a month if you can, maybe twice a month. But I've also got a civilian group where we call it New Girl Group, because the place that I go if I'm having a bad day.
It's not just civilians, it's civilians
it's civilians and veterans as well, and families. It's called New Girl Group on Facebook. But I basically just host events. Let's go to the beach, let's go for a walk, let's go for hikes, let's go for a swim, let's go for a surf.
What we're doing tomorrow, what did we do last week?
I just host things up, and all that is, again, is just getting veterans and families and people that are isolated together, because at the end of the day, we are very social people. Like, humans are social. You need social interaction to, be happy, if you like. So I just host those events because, for me, those events help me dig me out of the crap as well, if that makes sense. Get me out of my head, change my mindset, make me challenge my own thoughts and processes. Like I was taught by the military, the IRA of this and blah, blah, blah. And I was told about the Russians. All that stuff that I've been told, I'm now challenging it, because actually that's what we should do. Like you're saying about questioning the government, we should challenge this, we should challenge that. Because if you don't, then ultimately you're just being guided by someone else. So I kind of just host those groups or those events so people can come out, get out of the house, come and join us on social events. If you're having a bad day, all it takes sometimes is just to talk to someone. I'm having a bad day, this bill's coming, I don't know what I'm doing, blah, 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 I'm struggling. And the veterans around Pembrokeshire, we all help each other. We literally help each other. Tomorrow we're leaving at 4 a.m. Hence why I look so tired, sorry. We're planning the trip up Snowdon tomorrow. There's 11 of us, like veterans and some families. All are like, I can't do it. Snowdon's too high, it's too cold, it's going to be too hard, it's too this, it's too that. And they're all negative. They're all like in their heads going, I can't do it, I can't do it. And I'm like,
but look what they achieved last week.
Yes, you can. Like last weekend, I can't do it, it's too cold, it's too steep. They all come down the mountain with smiles on their face. And they were all absolutely buzzing. And then I'm looking forward to tomorrow. And it's just about changing people's mindset. Going, do you know what? It's raining outside this morning. You've got a choice in the morning. You kind of say, it's going to be a crap day, or it's going to be a great day. what I say to myself is behind those clouds is the sun. The sun is there. You just got to allow it, allow the positivity. And a lot of people say to me, I'm too positive. But obviously, I've been so negative when I've tried to obviously end my life. I refuse to let myself be negative. Obviously, I am negative sometimes. I do have bad days, but I don't let them sort of dictate to me who I am and how I'm going to react to other people around me. So that's kind of where I'm at, really, in my life. Again, go back to your question, would I join again? Absolutely. If I was 16 years old, and I knew what I knew at that point.
Yeah.
But if I change the question slightly, would I advise someone, a 16-year-old male in front of me right now, to join the army? I'd say yes. But there'd be a caveat to it. Don't stay for too long. Get your education, get your qualifications, and get out. Yeah. Get what you want from the army, not the other way around. So that's kind of where
Adam, do you have any questions for Gareth?
Yeah, I mean, I won't go into the mental health, so it's obviously very, very personal.
No, it's fine. I'm completely open about it. Completely. I wouldn't say it.
Some soldiers, I've known one in the Falklands War called Frank. He got addicted to heroin after following battle injury and got on the hard stuff. He ended up being busted for drugs, and he got 18 months in jail for letting his regiment down. When he came out of jail, this poor guy found out that he had fully blown AIDS due to dirty needles. And I'm not sure what's happened to him now, but that's a tragic story, but that happens. And I think a lot of the public aren't aware of what war can do to you. It breaks you, which is why during army training when I was 19, they tried to break you to put you in that situation. And I can understand that why. I mean, we had, when I was in the early 80s during the Cold War, I mean, we had a training major who was mad on NBC, nucleological and biological. We spent a lot of the time in respirators, and we used to put a lot of that Fuller's Earth. Do you remember Fuller's Earth?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
To put it on yourself, to try and deter that. They were good days, but most of us, I'm glad to say, and also might I say, I'm very anti-drugs. I'm pro-free speech. I'm pro porn, if you like, for adults, for consenting adults. I will say that. And no one used pornography more than soldiers in Germany, because soldiering is basically a world without women. So what do? They bring porn. And let me just say, porn is a very, very emotional word, like the term prostitute. We should call it what it is, human biology or whatever. It's a need. But what I'm saying is I am anti-drugs because having worked in mental health over the years, I think that any form of chemical imbalance does affect your equilibrium and your mental state.
It did with me. I wasn't taking drugs, but my mental health was suffering because there was something missing. I wasn't able to process my thoughts. It was a chemical imbalance in my brain, and I actually believed I was a horrible human being. The world's going to be better without me in it. That's ultimately what I thought, and it just became a stronger and stronger impulse.
I mean, PTSD can affect you years later. My grandfather was 6 years in the POW camp. 40 years later, we'd be, say, down in Penzance in a youth hospital. 4 o'clock in the morning, you heard Lausch, Lausch, Schnell, Schnell. It was still affecting him 40 years later, even though he told me that the Germans weren't brutal to British Tommies. They considered an Anglo-Saxon equal, apparently, from what he told me. He didn't like Germans, but he said that there was, and he became friends with a couple of German officers. But everyone has their own breaking point, and man is a unique animal because he's got the ability to use language. But one reason I felt I had to get into psychiatry and mental health nursing was because I think what the army did, it showed me how people could how people react under adverse conditions.
Of course,
so whatever happened to you, and I don't know the details, was there some sort of adverse condition that led to you having the breakdowns?
I'm not entirely sure. I still haven't really put my finger on it. I just feel it was a build-up of too much stress in the army, just way too much. And then you put the uniform on, you lose your identity. You're a soldier in the army. You are a number ranked name, right? That's it. You lose who you are. Now, since leaving, I've really found out who I am. I'm no longer a 16-year-old boy. I'm a 40-year-old man.
Yeah, because
and it's just my mindset's changed. I've took the uniform off. I've not discarded it. It's in the cupboard just there. But I'm able to stand up on my own 2 feet.
You're definitely a different person.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. If you had spoke to me 3-4 years ago, it would have been. I was just a negative person, very negative. Everything was dark. Everything was dull.
Very.
I I just ran a lot. A lot of people laugh. They'll probably see me on this now and just be laughing. There's that lunatic that used to run all the time. But that's how I used to cope. That was my medicine. You know, and some people turn to cocaine. Some people turn to other drugs to manage that depression, to manage that PTSD. I just went running. People said I was self-harming because I was running like hours and hours and hours a day. You know what I mean? I was like skiving off work to go running and just running all the time. Kept me fit. You know, I got faster and faster and got better at it. But it was just a case of that was my coping mechanism. You know,
it has been said that soldiers aren't human beings, and I don't mean that negatively. I'm saying that we are supposed to endure the unendurable. I mean, the other week you said you went to the Brecon Beacons. I mean, you're probably aware of the tragedy that happened there about 8 or 9 years ago, where SAS entrants were begging. They were knocking on people's doors, for God's sake, for water. And I know. I mean, the Army Welfare Association should be held to account for that, and the officers in charge. And I'm glad to say, when I was in, we had very, very good officers. Yeah. And but you have to, you know, in philosophy they say the wise man knows his own limitations. Absolutely. And I know what probably caused their death. I think 2 of them died on the spot, and another one died in hospital. And it must have been from severe dehydration. It must have been the internal organs must have just.
I think it was 38 degrees. The air temperature was 38 degrees.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm ex-PTI, and obviously I was still serving at the time, and there was a lot more restrictions on what you could do once that had happened. But it was only when the coroner ordered the MOD to do a proper investigation, because she dealt with the Tidworth bee sting. One of the Lancashire PTIs sprayed the officers with a fire extinguisher or something, and he got beasted in camp and he died of heat exhaustion. So she was the coroner for that death, and then she was also dealing with the guys up in Brecon for that selection. So she got that as well. It happened to be the same coroner, which was by luck. And then she was like, hang on a second, what's going on here? Why are soldiers dying for heat exhaustion in the UK on peacetime operations? So she ordered an investigation, and obviously that all came out. But we had, as a PTI, we had so much more restrictions put on us. Because why not? We're there to train people, not to kill them.
Yeah. I mean, the poor relatives.
It did have a good impact. It did have it. Obviously, the deaths were completely tragic, you know, and my thoughts to go out to the families and the friends. Yeah. But what good came from it, you know, obviously I say that quite loosely because it's not good that happened, is less people, things were changed. So you had less opportunity to happen. You know, like you said earlier, I think you said something about, you know, you might be mental health trained, you might be able to prevent suicide. But what if that individual wants to go and kill themselves, like I did? You couldn't stop me that night. There was no one stopping me. I went to my mate's house and knocked the door. 2 o'clock in the morning. It's pitch black. Why didn't I knock the door? Because I didn't want to disturb them. I didn't want to be a burden. So I went to another friend's house. I went to knock the door. They were in bed. In my head, I'm just being a burden to everybody. It's time to leave. Mm-hmm. They couldn't do anything about it. It's not their fault I didn't knock the door. It's my fault. Because of my mindset was I'm done. Sure. There's no one could stop me.
Yeah. Right. I don't know. I mean, you know, the old saying, is it the nature or the nurture? What causes someone to have a breakdown or mental illness? I think it was maybe a combination of factors, or one factor that drove you over the edge, as it does. I mean, everyone's got their own breaking points. But do you think with the Brecon Beacons, do you think what killed those poor guys? Was it this machismo thing about we can do it? That thing in the sky, the sun, you know, people can die from heat exhaustion. Yeah. Do you think it was this machismo thing that drove them on? We can do it?
I think it might be, again, it comes back to complacency maybe. The individuals going for that course are fit individuals. They are fit, they're motivated, they're determined. Okay? They are borderline cocky, and I say that not in a negative way. They're there, right? They want it. They know what they're doing. They train for months and months and months. maybe they didn't pay too much attention to themselves. I'm not taking anything away. I mean, no disrespect whatsoever to anybody here. I'm just loosely talking. They are the fittest of the fittest. They're probably fitter than the guys in the SAS, if I'm honest, right? Because they're going for that selection. They need to be, you know, the sharp edge of it. But again, it comes down to management, doesn't it? I mean, whoever was in charge of that complete whole exercise, that whole training scenario, you know, it's their responsibility to make sure that no one dies on their watch.
Yeah. I
mean,
indeed,
it's 38 degrees outside. There's a high risk. It's not even a high risk. It's a very high risk. You know, even after that situation, there was one time when I had phase 2 trainees in Sennybridge, and it was 36 degrees outside, and I had the OC of the squadron saying to me, what are we doing? Because I was the lead PTI. And I said, we ain't doing anything. We do it in the night time. We're not doing it in the daytime. And I was sat there twitching, thinking, hang on a minute, this major's going to rip me a new one. And actually, he listened to me. I said, sir, you're going to have someone die. I said, look at the staffy over there. Look at that guy. Look at that guy. They're not themselves. They're completely just focused on work. They're not talking about anything else. They're not talking about social life. They're not having banter. They are literally focused work, bright red in the face. They were fighting, like chucking people down the bayonet range, if you like. And this officer stood next to me. He said, well, I pulled out the JSB. And I was like, 749, 7 JSB, it says we can't do it because of this, this, and this. We can't do it. We've got to wait till 7 to come down. We ended up doing a bayonet range at like 10 o'clock at night, you know, because it was too hot. And I thought, hang on a second, that's my S-jar gone. He's going to rip me a new one. S-jar's going to be rubbish. But actually, after the exercise, he pulled me in. He pulled me into his office and he made me a cup of tea, sat down with a biscuit, and I thought, hang on a second, this isn't, not get a chew in. And he actually congratulated me. He said, that's what senior NCOs are for. Senior NCOs are there to make sure that we are accountable for our actions. Therefore, you kept me accountable. So you basically saved my S-jar. Because if someone did die on an exercise, it would have been on him because he was obviously the overarching IC. So he actually congratulated me for it and said, that's why senior NCOs are reliable. That's unique. That's who you are. So keep doing what you're doing. And
sounds like a good NCO. Sounds like a good. I mean, I know one I met. I mean, we always had one or two that you don't like, and one of them didn't like me because I was the tallest there. The other guy went right marker. I ended up being right marker on parade, and
same.
Yeah, because I was the tallest there, and it was quite an honour to be quite honest. But so I lost my train of thought. Yeah, I mean, I think you even if you look at Napoleon, I'm sure you might have read Napoleon's Thoughts on the Art of War and Power. Great book. He's got these maxims. Even Napoleon said, never sacrifice your own men. This idea of Roman legions killing every 10th man, I think is popular mythology because there's no point in killing your own side. What's going to save you? And Napoleon said, if you know you're going to lose a battle one day, retreat. And I think this was one military technique that Cromwell used because he defeated the king's army.
If we strip it right back, 3 to 1, right? 1 to 3. If there's 3 of you, one of them, take them on. If there's 3 of you and 2 of them, you leave.
Yeah,
that's on the bottom. It's simple, basic.
And contrary to what they told us in the army, I think you'll agree is human beings are very, very fragile. We are very, very fragile. We're 90% water. We can crack. We all have our own idiosyncrasies. And when you're 16 or when you're 19, as I was, you're just past adolescence. Your body is developing. You're going from a youth into a man, and your body's in a very strange time. So, and
it's a perfect time though to train someone to become a soldier because they will listen to everything. I use the word brainwashing loosely, okay? But ultimately, they're teaching you to be a soldier, so you soldier on the battlefield, which is going to improve your survivability on the battlefield. And I use the word brainwashing because everyone knows what that means. But is it brainwashing? Is it not? At 16 years old, your brain does not do that. So it's very easy to break someone and turn them into a soldier.
I mean, if you go to Northern Ireland,
I didn't have to wait till you're 21. It's like, why is that age bracket there? It's there for a reason. Why do you have cadets? Let's plant that seed. That's a recruitment tool, right? I'm not saying everyone in cadets is going to join the army, but it is a recruitment tool in my, it's my opinion now, by the way. But that's what I think. So, they're planting the seed, and ultimately, I think it saves me on the battlefield. Yeah, because the training, it's really good training. The first time I was in contact, it didn't feel like I was in contact. Yeah, it just felt like I was on exercise again. But it was real. I think it's great that they do it, but what I challenge or what I'm disappointed with is when I come to the end of my time, I was probably 3 years away from the full career done. That's when I was struggling mentally. Why was I struggling? Why didn't they give me the help that I needed? If they had kept me in, I'm glad I'm not in anymore because I'm looking at the news going, cheers, see you later, I'm not going. But I'm very much like, why didn't they help me?
Can I just ask you on that point? And again, if it's personal,
go for it. Ask anything you want.
Did they ever refer you to a psychiatrist while you was in the army to find out what the problem was?
Twice.
Right. Did that help?
Many times I went through medical officer, went through med chain. Not really. Not really, to be fair. The only time it really helped, and again, I go back to the uniform. When I took that uniform off, when I was when I was no longer, I knew I was getting mid-discharge. When I was able to take that uniform off, not be that individual that I didn't want it to be with number running, when I was able to be Mr. Venables again, that's when I was able to find my feet. That's when I was able to go, do you know what? I'm 40 years old. I'm not 16 anymore in my head. I'm not that young lad that joined the army anymore. And it was weird, actually. I've just come back from Poland. And I was on like a teaching English teaching English and foreign language. First time volunteering, first time going to Poland, first time traveling on my own without the military. And one of the exercises, the Polish speaker had to describe the person they could see in front of them, because obviously it's getting them to learn their English or practice their English. And this guy just called me a confident male. And I was just like, it was weird. I went, I'm actually a male. I'm actually a man, not that boy that joined the army. That's where it hit me. And I was like, well, and I know it's so small, and so it sounds so daft, but in here, it was huge. It was absolutely huge, because he was only describing what he saw.
Can I ask, were you working like in military, obviously awkward hours? I mean, because I've done night duty myself over years, and also nursing, and there is a big link between depression and sleep deprivation. I mean, sleep deprivation is an integral part of adjustment disorder and PTSD. Were you very, very tired at the time when this happened?
So the day in question, so 2nd of June 2033, I hadn't slept for 7 days.
Well, that's an interesting thought.
Not one minute. I'd just been, because my brain was so impulsive and so like negative. It was 1,000 miles an hour, and I was unable to stop it.
You slowed down a lot.
God, now, yeah.
So
I was
ADHD through the roof.
Yeah, ADHD. I've been diagnosed with ADHD. I went private in September, and I take L-Vance for it, 35 milligrams daily. What a difference! I feel like a lock and key. That was absolutely a massive change for me. But I think taking the uniform off has also helped. Going to Poland, helping other people, seeing the world in a different way, not just from a British military perspective, not just from a British perspective. And another thing I did was I like to challenge things, right? I've said that at the beginning. So my first week teaching English in Poland, as soon as I got on the bus, Belfast accent, and I was like, oh, I better not tell him I'm military. I better not tell him that. Stay away from him. And then when we got to the hotel, we had to share a room with another English speaker, someone that's
it's a good
English.
dip, this is, yeah.
So I was like, well, I got a challenge here. This is my opportunity to challenge myself. And I said to, I don't know if I can say his name, but I won't say his name. I won't say his name. But I call him Paddy. Why not? I was like, Paddy, can I share a room with you? And he's like, well, yeah, of course. Because he is a former member of the IRA. Older generation, older than me, probably 20, 25 years older. And I challenged myself. I thought, do you know what? I'm going to share a room with him. And I'm so grateful that I did, because actually it was like sharing a room with a British service person. We had banter. Like my bed was here, like in an L shape. His bed was there. I came in the room the first night, and how did I break the ice? I just went in. And I literally just went up to my bed. I lifted my mattress up. I looked underneath, and he's looking at me. I'm looking underneath, and he's looking at me, and he goes, "What you do?" He said, "Can I swear?"
Yeah. Go on.
He said, "What are you doing, dickhead?" And I was like, I'm making sure when I fucking lie down, it doesn't go fucking bang. Because you might have put something under it, right? And he just laughed his head off. He absolutely laughed.
I bet you kept one eye open when you was asleep, didn't you? One eye open.
I didn't actually. It's such a great laugh with him. Yeah, because he can see it from my side, and I can see it from his side. We're no longer in uniform.
We're still human, aren't we?
We're human beings. He was doing what he felt was right. I was doing what I felt was right. So let's challenge that. Let's challenge what we were told. So I thought, well, I'm going to share a room with the IRA guy. Simple as that. I even asked him, I said, do you want to share a room? He said, yeah, of course. And I've had a great time with him. Guess where I'm going to? Belfast. Because he's come to Belfast. You're not going to get beheaded. You're not going to do this. You're not going to do that. Obviously, a lot of stuff happened in Northern Ireland.
Yeah.
A lot of hard, horrible stuff. I don't condone any of that. But the fact that me and him was in Poland helping other people learn English at the same time, able to challenge ourselves, was a perfect opportunity. Really good opportunity for me to see it in a different way.
Right, guys, I'm going to have to interrupt you there. We're coming up to the hour mark. I've just got one last question for you. I've been sitting back watching Adam be a co-host, and he's smashed it. Well, absolutely smashed it. So
was I okay? Was it okay?
Absolutely brilliant. Usually I have to get in and interrupt and stuff like that. So I've just been sitting back. I planned this, you've absolutely smashed it through the roof. So well done, Adam. I really appreciate it. You've smashed it. Absolutely brilliant.
I didn't know if I was talking too much about.
No, I've left you some I've just let you to it to see if you could do the whole hour on your own and you've completely smashed
Right.
flying colours. I just got one question for you guys before we go. So what advice would you give someone? We'll go to Gareth first. What advice would you give someone leaving the military today?
What are they leaving? As in, like they're leaving today? Or got 6 months' notice? Just like you get what I mean?
What advice would you give someone leaving the military today? As in, like as they're leaving today.
So, when you leave the military, for me personally, what advice would I give them? Take your time. Take some time out. Think about what you want. Think what you want to do. Like the job I do now, it's not a job. It's a hobby. I get paid to do what I do. I'm a driving instructor. Yeah. So I enjoy developing others. And you don't just teach people to drive. You're a coach and mentor. You know, you hear about their lives. You're a bit of not quite counselling, but you know, you kind of guide them a little bit more than that. You have a good conversation. So when you leave, like I struggled. Obviously, I was struggling mental health wise. I took 8 months off. I focused on me. You know, ultimately, you need food, shelter, warmth, water, the basics. Go with that, and then everything else will fall into place. Don't jump to a job. Don't jump into this. Don't jump into that. Don't let society tell you what you should do. You know, if you've got your lump sum, you've got your pension. If you haven't, you've got some savings. Use that to give yourself a bit of time, a bit of space. You know, train yourself up to the standard that you need to be for civilian street. And also, like I've said to this guy here, Darren, right? He has his views, and some of them are extreme. And behind closed doors,
to certain people,
they are. Yeah,
same with Adam, same as you.
But it's choose your audience. Be careful what you say in front of your audience.
I mean, extreme is a bit of a value-loaded judgment, isn't it? It's like good and bad.
Yeah, of course it's
a value-loaded judgment.
Yeah, it's a judgment. But then again, it's like, pick your battles. So if you're going to say something in front of a group of people that's going to aggravate them, like the police did with those people, they aggravated, surrounded, and made the situation worse. You know, but they were in a position of power where they could do that because they've been given the power to power arrest and stuff. So ultimately, I'd just be like, take your time, don't jump into anything. And just remember, when you leave the military, you're not in the military anymore. You can have the banter, but you've got to be careful with it. Some people don't get the banter, the dark humor. They just don't get it. Yeah. And it's not going to help you to get where you want to go in life. Ultimately, that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. So,
same question to you then, Adam.
Well, I'd say leaving the military. I mean, there was a psychologist called Sprott who wrote a book called Human Groups, and he spoke about ego association. We mentioned the police and that. When you're demobbed, as we all were, the ego that's associated with the uniform is gone. So you have to fill the void. So my advice is to have a structured day when you come out. Make sure you have a structured day. The army is pretty good at finding. I mean, one thing the army did get me, I got a job as a drill instructor on Band of Brothers, the Steven Spielberg, Tom Hanks. So it did get me into the movies.
Wow.
I was quite lucky there, and also my good looks as well got me there as well. I'm joking, and but lead a structured day, and also have an open mind and be wide range. I think you have to be wide range, and maybe try to just rediscover some of the humanity that the army took away from you, shall we say. You're no longer a clockwork soldier, left, right. I mean, I've been on the bus a few times, and I've been the back of another two guys in their 30s or 40s at the front of the bus talking about Belfast, because it's a big part of their life, and it gave them the adrenaline, and they, in a way, they miss it, as I do. I miss the army parties. The good thing about the army, that the bar never closed. Brilliant timing. If I look at I went to Colchester Garrison the other week and looked at it, and no one can take those wonderful memories of the 80s from me, wonderful memories. But to help people coming out, lead a structured day, take it easy. I think slow down if necessary, know your own limitations, because if you become hysterical, histrionic behavior is, I'm not trying to play a psychiatrist here, is when the symptoms become out of control, you are then diagnosed with histrionic behavior, which I think may have affected. I think personally you were suffering with some sort of PTSD or adjustment disorder. That is not uncommon. So lead a structured day, keep yourself busy, and how can I say, replace habits with habits. The habits that you're losing from the army, just redevelop your own habits. I don't. That's all I can say, really.
That's really, really good advice, because again,
really good.
If you do CBT and a little bit of counselling, what do they say? Activity, get sleep, have some food, live a normal routine. Because if you're getting out of bed at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon,
Yeah.
You're not going to sleep better the next night.
Well, I can honestly say, I'll be brief. I can honestly say that sleep deprivation has ruined my relationships. I've had girlfriends that I've loved and I still think of, but a combination of alcohol and sleep deprivation, you're not a human being. As a pandemic, when you're sleep deprivation, there is a link between depression, but also when you start to hallucinate, that is when you're dreaming, when you're conscious. And I've seen this with guys in trauma unit. They haven't slept for 2 weeks and they're like zombies. So the good thing about sleep deprivation is when you reach a level where the body will just shut down, it will just shut down. But hopefully that's not when you drive. In Germany, we had guys that fell asleep at the wheel, hit, and again, this is where you need sleep. Sleep is precious, and I have suffered with insomnia over the years, and it's not a nice situation at all. So also another good bit of advice: get some sleep and relax if you can. Meditation, yoga, whatever it takes.
I do all of that. I do meditation, yoga, exercise. I eat well. I've got my work routine. Yeah, I feel like my life is pretty fucking great right now. That's the only way I can say it, right? Whereas like 4 years ago, it was fucked. I think
you're well sorted out now. You're well sorted out.
It took a few years. It really has. I mean, every day I wake up, and it sounds cheesy and it sounds rubbish, right? People say, "Oh, I just open the curtains and it's a great day." Fucking just do it. Just see what happens. You tell yourself it's going to be a great day. I'm telling you that.
Just do it.
It's a great day. It is. But like you were just saying then, right? So there's 3 things that I try to avoid: cold, tired, and hungry. You guess what? If I'm cold, I'm grumpy. If I'm tired, I'm grumpy. If I'm hungry, I'm grumpy. I'm having a shit day. So tomorrow, we're going to Snowdon. We get up at 4 o'clock. I'm going to be tired. I'm driving. I'm still going to be tired. It's going to be cold. And guess what? I'm going to be hungry. So tomorrow is going to be a hard day. Right? I'm going with friends. I'm hosting a lot of people coming with us. Yeah. They're all going to be struggling mentally. I can't do this. So I'm going to step up and give something back to the VC Gallery, because they're the ones that stepped in when I was at my lowest. Do you want to touch on the VC Gallery and explain what you do? Yeah, I can if you've got time. We've got. So when I got out of the army, obviously I've been trying for about 4 or 5 years. Put my hand up. I'm not right. I don't feel great. So and then post suicide, then obviously the army was very much wash hands with me. Don't want to be another statistic in the paper and all that sort of stuff. I got some help from DCMH, and the guy that the psychiatrist that I actually got was he had a bit of beef with the army as well. He wasn't very happy with the way that soldiers were getting treated. And he said a few things during our sessions which were, he wasn't anti-MOD, but he was very anti the way they treat soldiers at the end of their careers and stuff. And I was just textbook to him. And he just kind of guided me. He guided me a little bit, he got me through the discharge process. But then what? There's like you said, the massive void. Do I get out of bed? Do I do this? What do I do? I don't need to work. I've got my pension. I've got this. Then you've got no purpose. You're completely lost. That's dangerous. Now, the VC Gallery, Barry John, a friend of mine, he's got an MBE for services to veterans. He set up the VC Gallery in Pembrokeshire. Without them, I could put my hands up and just say I wouldn't be alive. So I put both hands up, right? Because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here. I'd have been stuck. Within 7 days of post-suicide, I was in the VC, and I'm going to mention a name, Steve Williams. Now I'm in the corner, bawling my eyes out. My life's done. Do you know what he said? Typical British military. Mate, do you want a cup of tea? And that was the point.
Yeah.
He went and made me a cup of tea. He actually got one of the mental health trained personnel within the VC Gallery to come over to me, and from that cup of tea, I was able to get the support I needed right there at the right time. And from there, it's just been up.
Right.
And I look back and think, fucking hell. I look back and go, wow, that's a long way down. I was down there.
Yeah.
When I look down, it's like looking down at the bottom of Snowdon. I'm at the top. Going, shit, if I fall, I'm struggling. But without that cup of tea, without that VC Gallery in Pembrokeshire, would I be the person I am now? Not a chance. They're the ones that picked up the baton. They're the ones that sorted me out. So a little bit of a shameless plug. We're going up for Snowdon tomorrow. I've been up Snowdon over 150 times, right? You don't sponsor me. Sponsor the guys that say they can't do it. The ones that are coming. The ones that have got a bit of extra weight. The families. The ones, again, Donna, right? It's about her. She's like, I can't do it. Guess what? She smashed it. She smashed it last week. She's going to smash it tomorrow. So
in a way, you never left the army, did you? You're still in the army. You're doing it.
I'm in the veterans community. And it is an army. It is an army of veterans. And I just take people out, and we just.
And I think at some point in life, Darren, I'll be brief. everyone reaches at some point in life where they need a serious operation, or you get to the point due to circumstances where you want to kill yourself. And my advice there is just delay the suicide, because I've worked with people that have lost legs, due to throwing himself under a train or whatever, even died or lost, in one case, one arm and both his legs. And believe me, if you've got a problem before the suicide, you think about what happens afterwards. It's just not. And as for psychiatrists, be careful with psychiatrists. Do you know how to tell when there's something wrong with your psychiatrist? So if you go and tell him you're Napoleon and he tells you to get a white horse and invade Russia, think about changing your psychiatrist.
Yeah,
that happens. Yeah,
but
it's
good to speak to you, Adam, because obviously you've got your views. I respect your views. I've got mine. Darren's got his, and ultimately we are veterans, right? And we've got our views. I just feel that since leaving the army, for me, I want to challenge everything I've been taught. I've met people from Russia. That was in Poland. I've met people from. I'm actually learning German, believe it or not. My ex was Austrian, so I started to learn German. I'm going to Germany because I want to go and see the Germans from the German side. I want to look at all angles. I want to challenge things because that's who I am, and I'm quite an inquisitive little fucker, to be fair. But please, if you can, if you want to buy someone a beer, buy the VC Gallery beer. Donate on that. Donate down. I'm sure you're going to put it somewhere. I've
just put it in there right now. There it is, guys. It's in the chat. It's the GoFundMe link for the VC Gallery in Pembrokeshire. They do a great job. They saved Gareth's lives. Yeah, they've helped me. I went down the wrong path. I've shared my story on the show before. They're helping me. So yeah, absolutely brilliant. Sorry?
Just add a little bit there. Yeah, so again, I'm not dismissing any military charities, but the bigger ones turned their back on me. Okay, they didn't want to give me the help. They were like, "Oh, you're going to get a pension, you'll be fine." No, I wouldn't have got to the pension. I needed someone to intervene there and then. The bigger charities turned their back on me. It's the smaller charities that are on the front line, the ones that are with the veterans that are crying on their couches, wanting a cup of tea, wanting that chat. They're the ones that really make a difference. So the VC Gallery here in Pembrokeshire, Barry John, I congratulate you, mate, because what you've done and what you've achieved is giving me the chance to give something back as well. So if we all help each other, then we can help or minimise suicide.
And at the VC Gallery, all the people that go, there's no judgment, is there?
No, it's not.
There's no judgment. There's no judgment at all. So if you're struggling with addiction, alcohol problems or anything else, from that, they don't judge. You can go in and just speak to them, and they don't judge you at all, which is great.
Yeah, I mean, they helped me. I was sofa surfing when I left. And when I post discharge, I didn't know if I'd get a pension, I didn't get a pay, I didn't have a clue. We're in this building right now because the VC Gallery got me on the council list, got me on the priority council list, not on the bloody bronze. They got me on a gold, and they got me in and sorted because they can do things and they made Pembrokeshire Council accountable for what their policies are. And then eventually this house became available, and it's like, boss, there it is, off you go. So it's a great community to be in, because if you've got a problem, reach out to any of the military veterans around you, and guess what? A problem shared is a problem half. I know it's cliche. Say again. Again, thank everyone for coming on the walk tomorrow. Let's quickly run some names. So you've got me, Darren, you've got Archie who's downstairs waiting to go.
He's watching the show downstairs right now. Big shout out to Archie. You got Donna, you got Leon. Who else have we got? Helen. We've got Tamara. Who else? You're gonna worry now. You missed
Come on, help me out. I can't think.
Anyway.
Yeah, so there's quite a few of us going. I think we're expecting, I think, minus 15 feel like temperature. Sam's coming as well.
Sam.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Have a great time.
Yeah, so we're just going up and again, it's getting them out. It's getting someone to believe they can do it instead of they can't.
Yeah. I did the Seven Sisters Marathon in 1984, and I beat in full kit. I beat the Paras, and I got back to Folkestone Barracks, Eastbourne Barracks, had a freezing cold shower. But talking about survival, along the way, the Ramblers Association were there, and they gave us Kendall's mint cake and to keep us going. But Beachy Head, you have to be careful because you can run over the cliff and drop down the other side. So you have to be a bit careful there,
So on the New Girl chat that we've got, it's the night before. I've posted up the next event, which is Adrian's Wall. So we're going to do Adrian's Wall.
82 miles.
Just why not?
82 miles, but we've got to do a lot of training for that.
Days. Yeah. So I've already posted up the new challenge, and we're all going, hang on a second, I'm not going to Snowdon yet. But why not aim high? Let's go do it. Let's try challenge yourself, because you don't know your limit until you get there.
And just one last thing, Gareth, he's now running the Pembrokeshire Veterans. He's got an idea that his future plans are setting up a PTSD camp.
Yeah.
Do you want to explain?
So it's just somewhere small, somewhere within Pembrokeshire. We're looking at buying a plot of land. I've got a friend who's potentially going to sell the plot of land, just trying to raise money for that. It's just, again, it's when I think about myself. What did I need when I was on that couch crying my eyes out? I needed someone to talk to. I needed someone to sleep. I needed someone to eat. I needed someone safe. So I'm going to try and create a small area where people can come, like a campsite, if you like.
Free to veterans.
Free for veterans to come in. They can have a cup of tea. They can sit down and have a chat. They've got somewhere warm to sleep. They've got somewhere safe to be. And the rest just flows from there. Once you stabilise someone, they can then make their own choices where they want to live, what they want to do, how they're going to feed themselves, how they're going to pay the bills, and just kind of like, just give them that opportunity to have that cup of tea and have that conversation. I know that the VC Gallery do all that anyway, but again, some people don't find it a bit overwhelming because
they can come for a bit of respite. They can actually stay on the camp.
They can stay there for longer. They can stay overnight. That kind of stuff. I just think it would be a great.
Even if they came and stayed for a couple of weeks and moved on, or if they're homeless veterans, they can come to the camp. Just getting a shower and having a hot meal.
Does
a homeless person the world of good. But yeah, we're coming towards the end of the show now. I just want to say there's Smack. They call him Smack. He's in America at the minute. He's a British veteran. He's Jerry McKinnon. He's put some decent money into the GoFundMe. I think it's $100. He's in America. I just want to thank him for the donation for that towards our goals, and everybody else has donated, and people that have donated to the VC Galley. We don't ask for donations just for ourselves. We actually promote on this show and help others and put their donation links in as well, because it doesn't matter if you're donating to us or donating to them. We're still all veterans, and we're still helping each other. Adam, you're getting a lot of love here tonight. Adam, you're giving them love. I just want to say, I've just sat back and I've watched Adam all night, and he's going to be an absolutely fantastic addition to the show. Piers,
if you're watching, sorry we missed you, but
we will reschedule and get you two on, because last time was absolutely brilliant. I will also put Piers' GoFundMe link in there.
He's a highly brave, intelligent guy. Yeah. You know, he'll tell you about stars thousands of light years away. He'll tell you about the weather forecast for nothing. You know, he's an incredible guy, and it's all over his head. He just doesn't have any fear at all. He's incredible. He's probably the bravest person here, to be quite honest.
Well, me and Gareth are actually going to come down to one of your meetings. Remember, me and Kyle came last time.
Oh yeah, I do remember that.
So Gareth's actually going to come down and he's going to introduce yourselves, and stuff like that. Because it'll be good.
Thank you for the opportunity. Thanks for everyone.
Yeah, no, you've absolutely smashed it, and brilliant.
I just want to add one thing. Your Jimmy looks a bit funny. Why does it look funny?
Should be over the left eye.
Hang on, wait, no, it's not. It's not a Jimmy, is it?
It's not a
Jimmy. Where's your Jimmy, mate?
Well, I haven't had it on for 45 years. Have some humility, guys. Have some humility. Hasn't been on for 45 years. So
It's all
okay.
Yeah. I worked with the light aid detachment in the REME for the Royal Signals, Regimental Generator Bay. So guys, that's the Late Night Veteran Show, episode 72. Thank you to everybody that tuned in. Please like, share, and subscribe. As you all know, Adam smashed it. I went downstairs a minute ago, and what's his name? Archie. Yeah. Archie said he's absolutely brilliant. Credit the show.
Right. Thank you, Archie.
In the comments in the show. So yeah, we're really looking forward to you as a co-host. This is the Late Night Veteran Show, guys.
Adam, nice to meet you virtually.
Nice to meet you, and thank you for talking. Yeah, good luck tomorrow. Yeah,
we'll keep you posted on social medias. Please look at New Gale Crew and Pembrokeshire Veterans if you can, and the VC Gallery.
Yeah, and also take a look at Piers Corbin, guys, and Adam works alongside him. So please check that out. I'll put the link in the description as well. So, guys, Late Night Veteran Show, episode 72. Peace out.
I pledged allegiance to the flag God stood beside me. I swore an oath to my countrymen and kin. Side by side we sang our anthem oh so proudly. And this is where a soldier's tale begins. We left for foreign shores in the name of freedom, comrades in arms for the
end stream. Hi, Donna. We can see you there. The show's ended.
Get some sleep. 4 o'clock.
Get some sleep. We're going to pick you up at 4 o'clock.
No, not. They're coming here.
Oh, they're coming here. There we go. Donna Rose Evans, peace out. Final thing to Jerry Smack. Great. Proud to be part of this journey. He's joined our team. He's in the WhatsApp group of us, the Late Night Veteran Show. He's just joined. He's due to come on the show soon, so tune in for that. Peace out, guys.